Hey everyone, it's your old Oxtal the DM back to you again with a new session. Today we're going to talk about storylines of D&D and basically RPGs in general. Have you ever found yourself thinking, man, I started off at level 1, I was killing rats and goblins and skeletons, and now I'm level 15 or I'm level 20 and now I'm just saving the world, which gets a little old. That where I'm gonna be for the rest of my D&D career for this particular character? And the answer to that, a little bit is a yes, but not necessarily. We'll talk about that. I would say the key thing you want to focus on, trying to branch out. Ask your DM to look into other things, and good DM will always be open minded to thinking about outside of the box. Not just have that linear storyline, which a lot of RPGs do tend to go. Start from level 1, you go to level 20, and then at the end, when you're at those high levels, basically saving the world. Every single time there's something wrong with the world. No offense, we talked about this last time with Critical Role and Dimension 20. Not focused on that with uh Vox Machina is kind of in that realm right now. They're high level, and that's basically been the constant thing is they're basically saving the world, and which is a good thing to have that kind of level. Let's focus on in-game kind of play we want, and this is where a DM has to come in and think about that. Go to other planes of existence, other worlds. I mean, now with D&D becoming such a large thing, there's so many compendiums out there that basically start to go into space, basically go into the abyss where you're talking about demons and creatures that even the Underdark is pretty brutal at some point. So those are key things that you might want to think about as even a DM or even as a player. You might want to try to see if you can get yourself into when you're at those higher levels. It's okay for you to ask those key questions, kind of get a feel about where the game might be going and being like, hey, is this where we might be going? And DMs sometimes will give you a little bit of hints. They're not going to spoil things for most people, but they're going to focus on their story and how they want to tell it. They'll be okay with saving the princess, even though she might be in another castle. That's okay. But also be okay with if they go into dark or if they go in space. That's okay. And that's fun to explore those new realms, have bigger creatures or bigger things that you have to deal with. That's where it kind of gets a little messy too, and a little muddy. You start to hit those higher levels, DM is going to start throwing bigger and bigger monsters at you, or creatures that have more things or more abilities that you need to be aware of. Not to say that you should metagame, but you should be prepared to always be about running away. I've always told to my players, you don't have to stand there and fight something. You don't have to sit there and keep beating yourself. TKP in the party, which is basically total kill the party, not always a good thing. I mean, DMs sometimes will just let it happen, and players will just kind of force it to happen because they think that they have to go through that motion. That's their goal, is to defeat the monsters that are in front of them. Maybe the monsters in front of them are a little bit too overwhelming, their party, or maybe they've utilized all the resources and now they're in another fight. Well, back off. Plan accordingly, plan strategically. Even when you get to those high levels, don't think you're immortal at that point. You still get your your butt handed to you very quickly if a smart DM throws the right creatures at you, especially when they start to talk about legendary actions, even legendary saves. That gets nasty. Um, the biggest thing I want to have you guys and gals focus on is thinking about how you want to play your characters in the kind of games. And a lot of people have asked me, do I play this certain class all the way through or do I multi class? there's no right or wrong answer. You can multi-class into anything. I've seen a lot of different abilities. Like I've seen fighter rogues, or I've seen fighter mages or wizards, say mages. I've not. There's no right or wrong answer to playing these kind of games. Pick something that you feel like you would enjoy, that you would enjoy for a long period of time, get to those higher levels, and focus on min maxing or playing the number. I mean, if you do 1,000 in damage, is that really fun? Yeah, you killed the big bad one shot, but is it fun for yourself? Basically, just ended a quick, big bad. Now what? Now the DM has to kind of go through a different thing, and they have to shoot a different direction. Be mindful. Be mindful of the story that the DMs are trying to play for you. They're trying to tell you the story that they want to tell you. They're guiding you to a direction. So be okay with being a little bit, you know, hamstringed it too. I'm not saying that you should be hamstringed. You should want to play what you play. There's nothing wrong with being. I would say focus on your role play as well. Role play in D&D and other RPGs is such a key element. How you want to interact with NPCs and other players is going to be instrumental through especially long campaigns. When you get to those higher levels, you might expect people around you, even people outside in other cities, to start to hear about you. So if you're playing a good character, maybe they will start to hear about you. Maybe start to say, "Hey, I know that character." Like a good classic game, Fable. Good at that. I enjoyed that game a lot. When you were good, they basically called out to you like hero and chicken chaser. And then when you were bad, they definitely called you out on that as well. So um, just be careful you get to those higher levels because people will start to notice are on either side, or even if you're in the neutral. Sometimes they'll notice that nothing wrong with that. If you have questions or concerns, or even like stories about how you how you play your character, um, I would love to hear them in the comments down below. Please be respectful and please don't gatekeep, like I've said before. Make sure that everyone here is welcome and that you entertain their stories as well as them listening to yours. We want to develop these stories here so that way people come to us and say, "Hey, I have this wonderful story that I want to tell," and we learn from those. Maybe even pick some of it and be like, "Hey, can I use some of this in my particular story that I'm developing?" A lot of people will surprise you and say yes. With that, I appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you next time.